NARS is back with a brand new foundation that has a ton of claims, including being transfer proof. So when you wear your mask, it is not going to transfer off. That's what they say. But today we're going to find out. So if you're interested in hearing what I think about the new NARS foundation, then just keep watching. Hi, my name is Ayesha. If you're new to the channel, here we talk about fragrance, beauty, luxury, and lifestyle. So if you like those things, please make sure you thumbs up this video and subscribe so that you never miss one of my videos. And if you are returning, hey y'all. Thank you as always for coming back. So let's get into this video. So today we're going to be talking about the new NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation. And like I mentioned in the intro, this foundation has a ton of claims about it. Now, a lot of foundations, when they come out, I've noticed they really don't say much. They just say, you know, natural looking and, you know, for normal to oily skin or what have you. However, I was very surprised when I saw this foundation has like 16 different claims that they say. So I am going to look down at my phone because I'm looking at the claims. And I just want to kind of briefly go over those real quick and then we'll get into the demo. So it claims to have medium to full buildable coverage, a natural soft matte finish, 16-hour wear, oil-free, oxidation resistant, shine proof, transfer proof, we shall see, humidity proof, sweat proof, and it protects from pollution and blue light. So at the end of the video, we will be readdressing those claims and seeing if this foundation actually lives up to what it says. Of course, we can't tell if it helps with pollution and blue light. So yeah, we won't even talk about that again. But the other claims that we can kind of get a feeling for, we will talk about those. Let's get into the demo. So my face is cleansed and moisturized. I am going to use a primer just in my areas where I have pores. I'm going to be using the Makeup Forever Step 1 Smoothing Primer. If you've never seen one of my foundation videos before, I like to wear the foundation how I would wear it. I don't expect the foundation to be magic, honestly. And I feel like I'm going to wear it and give you my honest opinion the way I would wear it. So with any foundation, I want to give it its best chance to succeed. Now, how you would wear a foundation is probably different than how I would wear a foundation, but I'll be going about it in the same way that I always would. So there's my primer. Let's open this fresh new bottle. So this is what the bottle looks like. I absolutely love the packaging. It is a squeeze bottle, so let's break it open. I haven't opened it yet because this is literally my first time. But it does have a squeeze bottle. Also, I should mention the texture is like some other textures of NARS products. So if you've ever felt like a NARS blush, the texture of the cap kind of feels like that. So we are going to squeeze a bit out on my hand. So that's what it looks like. So you can see it's a little bit runny, but not like super liquidy. So let's put some on. So the way I typically apply matte foundations is with a beauty blender. So I'm going to do that. As you can see, I didn't use everything I squeezed out, but we'll see if I need to build it up. So I picked this up in my normal foundation color with NARS, which is Cadiz. And I have to say, it looks pretty darn ghostly on me. I am not feeling this color. Quite a big disappointment. This is my normal color, and actually when I put it on, it looks lighter than the swatch I did on my hand. So that I'm not feeling. Now, as far as application, I do feel like it blended out well, but it does look pretty dry. I don't know if y'all can tell on camera, but it looks pretty dry. It is a matte foundation, so we'll see what happens when my oils kind of blend with it. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the rest of my products. Actually, I'll do my concealer on camera since I'm gonna be using a NARS concealer too. I'm using the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. Now they recently kind of relaunched this. They never got rid of it to begin with, but they added some new shades and they're kind of marketing it again, but mine is old. I had mine in the shade Caramel, and I do really like this concealer. So we're not really here to review the concealer today. I know I like it. I use it quite a bit. And because I like it so much, that's the real reason why I wanted to try this foundation. Besides the fact that I typically really like NARS foundations. I like to apply this concealer with my fingertips. This is not a concealer review, but I figured I would share that with y'all in case you're interested in picking up concealer too. But I like the warmth that I get when I apply that concealer with my fingertips. And then I just blend it in with my beauty blender. Okay, so here's my face with just foundation and concealer. I have not set the concealer yet, but this is what it looks like. Now I will say the coverage definitely looks full to me. I didn't even apply that much foundation and I feel like it covered everything. So this is full coverage for sure. For sure, for sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my face and I'll be back in a few. So it's been about 10 minutes and I finished applying the rest of my makeup. I can tell you that already I'm liking the look of this foundation a lot more. So initially when I applied it, it looked not like super dry on my face, but just very, very flat because it's matte. I'm not really used to wearing matte foundations. I'm also not a huge fan of the color. I think it is lighter than my previous NARS foundations because like I said, I always buy Cadiz and NARS and I feel like this one looks lighter, but it may be just because it's matte, it looks like a lighter color. Now that I have my full makeup done, I do think it looks good and I don't think it looks too light. I did go in with a radiant bronzer for my bronzer today and kind of one that's more like a darker shade just to kind of help even out the color for me. And the bronzer I use today is from Bare Minerals. This is the Invisible Bronze in Dark to Deep. Show you real quick. I might as well show you my blush too. The blush I went in with was also shimmery, but I did not apply a highlight. So the blush I'm wearing is NARS Taj Mahal, one of my absolute favorite blushes. And I'm really liking the way this looks now that I've applied all of my products. So for me, I can already tell that this is not the type of foundation that I'm gonna wear when I want to look like I'm not wearing any makeup. I don't think it looks heavily made up. I feel like it looks pretty like natural-ish, but it is definitely full coverage and it's definitely a little bit more matte than what I would typically go for. So for instance, for me, on days when I kind of want to look like I'm not wearing any makeup, but I am, I'll apply something like the Makeup Forever Water Blend Foundation, something very light coverage like that. This is not that. So I am liking the way it looks though. I will check in with y'all a little bit later today and kind of let you know how it's holding up, let you know, if it is indeed shine proof or transfer proof. I do have to go out today, so I will be wearing a mask. So that'll be the true test. The time right now is 11:06 a.m. So let's just say I applied at 11 a.m. and I'll check in with y'all in a few hours. It's been 3 hours since I've been wearing this foundation. It is really hot, but I just took off my sunglasses and you can see I have a little bit of indentation. And then I also have a little tiny bit of makeup on my mask. You probably won't even be able to see it, but this is not completely transfer proof. Now, it does seem to be transfer resistant because usually if I wear makeup, I have more on the mask than that, but not transfer proof like it says. I don't know why I was putting that back on. Anyway, I just wanted to check in with y'all. I'll check in with y'all again later. So just giving a close up. This is at 4:30. So I've been wearing this like 5.5 hours and I'm a little shiny, but it looks pretty good. It's definitely not transfer proof though. So my camera battery died. But I wanted to film this last part of today. I will be trying this foundation out for a few more days, and I'll come back after about 2 or 3 days and kind of give you the review of it. But as of the first day, this is what my foundation is looking like. It did wear off some in my cheek area, but I think that's from my daughter grabbing my cheeks, because I just really noticed that over the last 2 hours or so, and that's when she was grabbing my cheeks. So it did wear off, it did transfer. I do think it looks good, but it is not completely like shine free, but it is like a nice radiant finish. I'm not sure if that's showing up well on my phone, but this is what it's looking like. But I'll be back in a few days to kind of give you my thoughts on the foundation after I wear it a few more times and try it a couple of different ways. So I'll see y'all in a few. So I'm back, and it's actually been about 2 weeks since I filmed the first portion of this video. And that's pretty much because I wanted to order another foundation shade. I kept going back and forth on whether or not I was gonna order another one or not. So that's why it's taken me so long to actually finish this video, but here we are today. I ended up ordering the shade Caracas, which is medium deep 3.3. I've never used this shade, but I know they did introduce it, I believe, with their last foundation, but for me, Cadiz has always worked, so I didn't feel the need to order another one initially, order a different shade. But I ended up ordering Caracas because I just feel like the Cadiz shade was just too light for me, and I felt like it was messing with the way the foundation looked on my skin because it wasn't the right color, and I was having to do too much to kind of correct it. So now I have two colors. I do definitely think that Caracas is a better match for me, and I think the reason why I can't get away with Cadiz in this particular foundation formula is not necessarily because this formula is lighter than their other formulas, but because it's a matte finish, I feel like and because it's full coverage, I feel like there's just less wiggle room with the shades. So I would say that if you are in between shades, go for the darker of the two shades that you're looking at. To me, these colors are very similar, but they're just darker. They have the same undertones, and so they still both work. Now, I'm probably still gonna keep Cadiz just because it's kind of a hassle to return, honestly. And yeah, because it's a hassle to return, and I will probably be able to use this in the winter if I so feel like. So after getting the right color, I do really like the foundation, but I don't think it lives up to every single claim that NARS put out there. So take those claims with a grain of salt. We're gonna quickly just go through the pros and cons of the foundation. So first up, the pros. I really like the way that this foundation looks and feels on my skin. So it is full coverage. Y'all know that's not really my thing. I don't have a lot of blemishes on my skin. Not trying to brag or anything, I'm just trying to be completely honest with y'all. I don't have a lot of blemishes. My main problems would be pores and just evening out my skin tone. So generally full coverage foundations are not my go-to, but I do kind of like to have one at least for like special occasions. So even though this one is full coverage, I do feel like it gives a natural finish. So the way I applied it today, I found is my favorite way to apply it. And that's literally squeezing out the tiniest amount. Let me show y'all what I mean. So when I say the tiniest amount, I literally mean this much foundation. This much foundation will cover my entire face, y'all. My entire face. If I rub it in with my hands, it'll cover my entire face. And give me this coverage. This is how much I used on my face today. So I honestly think that's amazing. One thing I didn't notice beforehand when I first started talking about this foundation is that this is actually bigger than a lot of other foundations. So this is 45 milliliters and most foundations are 30 milliliters. So this is 50% larger than other foundations. So not only do I not need a lot, this would last a long time. So if you're looking for like a one foundation that you just have and you don't need any more, then maybe you want to look into this if you like matte full coverage foundations. So yeah, the finish and the feel of it is my favorite thing about this foundation. Now I definitely could build it up. I've noticed that when I put it on just that tiny amount, this is what I get, but if I want a bit of a heavier coverage, like a more glamorous look, then I can add a little bit more in the places that I need it. And I've actually worn it like that too. I'll try to insert a picture for my birthday because I went for a more glam look and applied a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and insert that here. So yeah, to me that makes it a bit more versatile, especially if you're like me and are not full coverage queens. And then as far as the feel, I don't feel it on my face. So even though it's full coverage, even when I build it up, I don't feel it. The only time I feel it is when I start to get really oily, and at that point I feel like I feel any foundation. But honestly, it feels like I'm wearing nothing on my skin, which I like. When I touch my face, it feels like I'm wearing nothing. I do not set this foundation. I don't feel the need to, but if you have super, super oily skin, I don't know, maybe you want to, but I honestly don't feel like I need to. Another pro is that this foundation does not oxidize. So I know that was one of their claims, and I have to say it's true. And that's probably another reason that the Cadiz shade didn't work for me, is because it never like deepened up at all. I'm used to foundations not necessarily oxidizing a lot throughout the day, but at least like adjusting a little bit. This one does not change from the time you put it on to the time, from the time you put it on and blend it in until the end of the day. It does not change as far as color wise. So therefore, if you go pick a shade at Sephora, I don't even know if you can test it, but if you do test a shade, you can be sure that the shade is going to look exactly how it looks when you apply it at the end of the time that you wear it. Now, as far as wear time, for me, it's a pro, but still I feel like the foundation does not live up to what NARS says. So NARS says that this is supposed to be a 16-hour wear foundation. I don't think that's the case. Now, I've never worn it 16 hours. The longest I've worn it is probably for work, and that's been about 12, 13 hours. And yes, it was there at the end of the day, but it doesn't look flawless. However, I do find that at the end of the day of wearing this, I am able to blot it, and it goes back to looking decent, but it does not look like how I first applied it. So as far as cons, for me, the biggest con of this foundation is I feel like you have to be careful with it because it is a full coverage foundation. I feel like if you just go in too much, you're gonna look cakey, and even though it is more of a natural finish, it's still full coverage. So too much is gonna make you look cakey. So to me, that is a con if you are a makeup beginner. Just don't apply too much. I feel like if you don't apply too much, it's really nice, but too much is too much. The other big con for me would be is that this foundation claims to be transfer resistant or transfer proof. I'm pretty sure it said transfer proof when I first read the information on this foundation, but when I looked it up yesterday, it said transfer resistant. So I'm not sure if they changed the language on that, but it's definitely not transfer proof. When I wear a mask, it gets on it. It gets on the ear, like the ear straps. It gets on the cheek. So I know it's not just like lip product transferring onto my mask. It's also foundation. Now, that being said, I do think it is transfer resistant, because yes, it doesn't transfer as easily as some other foundations, but it does still transfer. I do think that if I was not wearing a mask though, I have not noticed it transferring from me like touching my face and then touching something. So I do feel like it is transfer resistant. So I guess this is kind of a pro and a con. I would probably just view it as a pro, except for the fact that they told me it was transfer resistant, and now I'm wearing a mask and it's definitely not. But just, you know, take that statement with a grain of salt. This will transfer, just maybe not as much as some other foundations, and that's without me setting the foundation. So those were the pros and cons. I kind of just want to quickly go over who this foundation would be good for. So I think if you have normal to oily skin and you like a medium to full coverage and you want something that will still look relatively natural, then this foundation would be for you. If you have dry skin, I know they say that you can still use it, but you really have to prep your skin, because to me, this foundation doesn't look like dry on my skin. I have like normal to oily skin. It doesn't look dry, but even for me, I like to put on some sort of either a moisturizing primer, or what I've been using is the NARS Illumination. I forgot the name of it, but I showed it earlier in the video, and I'll list it down below. I like to use that underneath this foundation. I feel like they just work really well together. Also, if you're not really used to wearing makeup, I really wouldn't recommend this particular foundation or any full coverage foundation, because it looks like you're wearing makeup. Like, although it's a natural finish, it's natural for full coverage. Hopefully that makes sense. Like anybody that sees me will know that I'm wearing makeup. So even though like when I touch my skin, it feels natural and all that, anybody that looks at me is gonna know I'm wearing makeup. So if you're going for a no makeup type of look, this is not the foundation for you. So overall, I do really like the foundation. I like that NARS came out with a matte foundation because most of their foundations are pretty luminous. So I feel like this will work well for a lot of people, but it definitely has some cons. So I think you really have to decide on, you know, what's missing in your foundation stash. You know, will this fit a hole in your stash? Will it work for you? And you have to make that decision on whether it's worth it or not to you. For me, I'm gonna keep it, but it's definitely not gonna be an everyday type foundation. I almost returned it, to be honest, because I kind of don't need it since I haven't been wearing that much makeup lately. But I do kind of want to keep it around because when I am wanting to get glamorous, I don't really have many full coverage foundations, so I feel like this will kind of fit in that spot for me. But for me, this is not an everyday foundation just because it's a little bit too much coverage than what I'm used to. All right, so let me know down below if you've tried the new NARS Soft Matte Foundation and what you think of it. Did it work for you? Did you find it to be transfer proof? Let us know down below if this is something that you want to try. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel and thumbs up this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.